dealing on a daily basis with up-team vendors on site, whether it's inspection or tool holding or work holding. They're all on one site and they're all working on that 18-month to 2-year project. But when you're working all together in that collaboration, you know that all them ingredients have to come together.
Welcome to the MTD Podcast. I'm Giovanni Albanese, hosting today's show, a passionate engineer and a very proud member of the MTD team. Today I'm really excited to return to the headquarters of GROB Machine Tools UK in Birmingham for our monthly joint podcasts, learning all about this world-leading machine tool, automation and technology supplier, and finding out about work culture that makes it tick. GROB currently employs 6,800 people worldwide with a billion plus euro turnover and still a family managed business since 1926. Over the coming months, we will find out how they have remained so successful globally, passed the test of time, and are continually evolving and adapting to market changes. Today, we will concentrate on GROB 4Net digital solutions and the service and support which are critical to future success. I have the pleasure to be joined by two very special guests. Firstly, Carl Downing, a passionate, time-served engineer with a wealth of experience, an advocate for everything good in engineering, and a solutions provider at GROB UK. Great to see you again, Carl.
Hello, Gio. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Good to be back in Birmingham and good to catch up. Last time I seen you was at Brave, wasn't it?
Yep. We're doing another episode of the GROB Pod today, so yeah, looking forward to it.
Brilliant stuff, brilliant. And we'll catch up again shortly. Now, also on this podcast, we have the pleasure to be joined by Adam Cope, UK Service Manager at GROB UK Machine Tools, responsible for installation, commissioning, applications, service and support. Welcome to the MTD Podcast, Adam.
Gio, nice to meet you. Seen you a lot online, so it's good to meet you in person.
No, brilliant stuff, Adam. I want to kind of look into your role a lot more. It's the first time I've had the pleasure to meet you, so it's brilliant. But you know, this podcast is about kind of the importance of service and support and how you guys have incorporated, you know, digitalisation and Industry 4.0 into that. But first, before we go into that, can you just tell us a little bit about yourselves, please? I know you've been on the podcast before, Carl, but you've got a relationship that kind of begins before GROB. So, Adam, first, tell us why engineering, how you got into engineering, and about your relationship with GROB and Carl.
Pretty much went into engineering straight from school back in 1995, I believe. So, done a modern apprenticeship. Was interested in engineering, obviously, so went down that route. Joined GROB in 2012. So was on the road for GROB as a mechanical service engineer, service in the UK and Ireland. The last 2 years I've been doing support on site projects, and in the last year we've been doing the service manager role here at GROB UK.
Have you been getting busier?
Yeah, it's definitely getting busier and things are picking up and it's testing us and we're stepping up to it. Brilliant
stuff. Now, Carl, we mentioned the culture at GROB, and now, you know, in the UK, this culture that you're renowned for around the world is a big thing for you guys. Now, tell our listeners a little bit about the culture and about your team, about you and your team in the UK.
Yeah, well, the culture from GROB worldwide really is that family ethos, really, and it's quite a nice fit with GROB UK that myself, Adam, the managing director, Lewis Hill, application engineer, Luke, we've got service engineers on the road. We all completed our apprenticeship together, and we've known each other for the best part of 20 years now. And obviously, inside and outside of work, we've got quite a tight relationship, so bouncing off each other again on a personal level and on a working level, it really fits well, and it really does. It really works for GROB UK.
And what are the main benefits to this really close-knit family kind of business?
I think you you can be honest and direct, and I think if you haven't got that freedom to express yourself where we have with each other honestly and openly, I think that's a negative. Where GROB UK, because we have that working relationship, we know each other inside and out. Our families are friends, our wives are friends. We hang out all the time. You've always got that openness and that honesty to say it how it is, and I think that's quite a strength, really.
And would you say that this is one of the secrets to your success, globally, a family-run business since 1926, Adam?
Yeah, definitely, because when a company's family-run, it's obviously they want to take it in the right direction and do the right things for not only their people but the customers, and just continue to grow. And like Carl said, we've all got that sort of bond to work off each other. Even the guys who haven't come through that route have worked together at other places in the past, so everyone on the team really knows each other and knows what we want to do and what direction we want to go in.
I think it's massive and it's admirable, really, the kind of business that you've got here, and long may it continue. Now, today we are discussing GROB for Net digital solutions and service and support. So let's start with you, Carl. GROB are renowned in the automotive industry, and the machines in this industry just can't afford to go down. So, how do you ensure that this doesn't happen?
It's very true, Gio. Obviously, with the automotive, especially with the projects in the UK, you're looking at, it can be 10 to 50 to 100 machines in a line. You're working with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different vendors at a time. The machines are churning out thousands of components, so I think it comes under that umbrella of rapid response. So you have to be on ball every second of the day. You have to have all the equipment at your fingertips ready to respond immediately with anything. And you have to work, again, with all them different vendors, knowing their strengths, their weaknesses. So it's not just about the machine going down, it's about trying to bring that all together, obviously getting that machine up and running, but making sure everybody's on the same page.
And Adam, give us some examples of service and support, and some examples, some success stories really from when you've reacted so quickly.
I think it's, like Carl said, having the skills. So lots of our guys are multi-skilled, so we got a good choice of who we can send to a customer, but their knowledge and experience, that's probably our best thing, because we can support in any way. Once we're there, quickly identify the problems, feed back anything that needs feeding back to be backed up from the office. So
that knowledge is a major aspect to kind of the service and support that you offer.
Yeah, but again, the engineers, the service engineers, whether it's the mechanical, electrical, the software or the applications, they build very strong relationships with the customers, and that's the management level at the customers or the maintenance team. So they have their own WhatsApp groups, they have their own talk, they get in contact with them. So sometimes they don't necessarily contact Adam or the office, they'll just drop a quick message or a quick call, and again, that service response, that machine's back up and running quick, so they don't have to necessarily, or they don't always go through that chain of command. They've got that working relationship, so they just get in contact straight away and obviously find that solution as quick as possible, which is what we all want, really.
Yeah, and that's going to lead on to some of the points during this podcast. So let's step away from the automotive industry just for a second, because I know that you are very active in that sector, but you guys are doing an absolutely grand job of getting the GROB machines into all engineering facilities for all sectors, and whether that be a small or large engineering manufacturer, subcontractors. You've broken down the barriers to entry. Does this same level of support apply to smaller end users? And how did you make them realise that, yes, GROB is for me and it's not out of my reach?
100%, yeah, it's the same. Obviously, I think people have that perception where they deem that the automotive is different, and obviously it is different to a degree with the volumes of machines and the amount of vendors that are all on one site, and obviously the physical size of that project. But it's still the same. If a machine's down, the machine's down. Whether it's 1 or 10 or 100 machines, you still have to have that stuff behind you as a company to be able to respond and react in the same sort of way. And obviously, we've learnt things as GROB UK, as GROB Worldwide, that there is subtle differences, but we can still apply the same makeup and still get that end result.
I mean, I think we touched upon it in one of our last podcasts, Carl, and when I was out on the road, it was, 10 years ago, it was infrequent that I'd see a GROB machine tool in a small end user, but all of a sudden I'm seeing a lot more of them in all different kind of arenas. The GROB machine tool has cut its teeth in the automotive industry, where it's got to be reliable, it's got to be running 24/7. So isn't this massively advantageous to any manufacturer of any kind of component, Adam?
Yeah, I think in some aspects, the standalone customers or the job shop environments, it's even more so, because like Carl said, if you're in an automotive company with multiple machines, you can perhaps afford to have one machine down, but this could be your main asset in your shop, your only value stream. So that's imperative to get that machine up and running as soon as possible. And,
we were at Luff, and we touched upon Luff for one of the last podcasts that we did. He didn't run 24/7 before, but all of a sudden now with the twin pallet GROB machine that he invested in is running 24/7 for kind of low to medium volume work. What difference does that make to a small engineering business, Adam?
A massive difference for them, and I think they soon learn when they've got that ability to do lights out machining. The machine instantly becomes more valuable. So when it is down, they need a response even quicker because they're so used to having that continuous supply of components.
It becomes second nature then, doesn't it? Yeah.
So tell me about your responses then. So, stock levels and logistics. Talk us through this, Adam. What are the kind of lead times that you would expect?
If a customer reports a machine is down, the call will either come into the office here or directly to myself. We'll aim, if that call's coming early in the morning, we'll try and respond that day if we can. If not that day, we'll respond the next day. So we're sort of looking at 6 hours response time before we can have someone ready to travel. And then obviously depending on the location, that customer will arrive in good time.
And a lot of the time, you've already solved the problem before it's even happened. And we'll be moving on to preventive maintenance in a short while during this podcast. Now, Carl, I didn't want to mention COVID today, but it's hard to hide the fact that it's changed the way in which we live and work around the world. How have you adapted to this change, and how have you added value through digitalisation at GROB?
The Industry 4 packages that we now, again, I'll say the Industry 4 packages that we've made ourselves, we do use them in our own production facilities in Germany, in all our plants worldwide. So the GROB for line, GROB for analyse, the coach, the simulate, the connect, the interface, the automation, they're all solution packages that are tried and tested but used on site. So we use them daily, so we know that they work. And they've never been more highlighted as a need as now. Obviously, with COVID, remote diagnosis is absolutely key, and we've found that, and I'm sure Adam knows more about that than I do.
Give me some examples on remote diagnosis.
It's a brilliant tool, because maybe, I don't know the exact percentage, but probably close on 80% of calls are something simple and it's an easy fix. So depending on the operator of the machine, skill level and knowledge of the machine, it's sometimes hard to get that information back to understand what they're trying to ask, what they're trying to say. But with remote diagnostics, we can dial onto the machine, we can see the HMI, we can see the screen, we can take machine crash and error logs and spindle logs, so we can have the full information on our side to fully diagnose what their issue may be. Obviously with COVID, we've had some travel restrictions, so customers in Southern Ireland, for instance, we've been able to support with remote diagnostics rather than sending a guy there and getting the information we need online.
And have you actually been solving the problems remotely?
Yes, yeah, we can not only solve problems, but if we need to change settings or update software or anything, that can all be done remotely.
And is that been a game changer for you guys?
For the company and for the customers. I think some of the customers, if we're being brutally honest, were a bit hesitant at the start, but once they've dipped their toe in the water, they can, especially again over the last 6 to 8 months, they've realised that it's one hell of a tool, definitely.
So you always had this technology at your fingertips, but it's been accelerated through COVID, and is that correct to say?
Yeah, literally the nail on the head, Gio. It's massively been accelerated through COVID, yeah,
now,
definitely.
Tell us about, you're a very technological company, you're at the forefront of technology, so start telling our listeners a little bit about your technology, about the spindle diagnostics, about some of the technology that they will get with your products.
So one of the main ones, I suppose, is GSD, so that's GROB Spindle Diagnosis. It's no secret that the heartbeat of any machine tool is the spindle. So it's absolutely paramount that the condition of that spindle is kept to its optimum. We all know in the real world, the customer wants that spindle running 100% of the time, and they want to get as much out of it as physically possible. But if we're honest, you have to take care of the heart. So yeah, having that diagnosis tool to make sure that tool is balanced when it's in the spindle and it should be doing what it should be doing at the right times. It's key.
Yeah, and that's a big point.
It also highlights it's not only about protecting the machine tool and the spindle, but because the system is sensitive, it also highlights problems in the customer's process. So we can then, from that, give them advice with the process and maybe change their work holding or their tooling based on what we're seeing from the spindle diagnostics.
And when we touched upon that prior to the podcast, didn't we, Adam? Your machine tool is a good, solid product that you believe in, but if the work holding isn't correct or the tooling isn't correct, they're not going to be able to use that machine tool to its full capability. So are you saying, you're telling our listeners that you can help to educate your clients in regards to the best work holding tooling,
definitely. And again, I think that draws on that experience from the automotive when you're dealing, and Adam knows this more than me, when you're dealing on a daily basis with up-team vendors on site where you've got specialists of whether it's inspection or tool holding or work holding, they're all on one site and they're all working on that 18-month to 2-year project to get that project finished. But when you're working all together in that collaboration, you know that all them ingredients have to come together to get that perfect
result, perfect process, that stable process.
In a way.
And I think that, selling one machine is all good and well, but, the service and the support, helps to sell the second and the third. I'll give you an example, and going back to the automotive industry, my previous car, I had no end of problems with it, but the service... But I liked the car, but the service was absolutely dreadful. And I promised myself I'd never go back to that brand and again. And when I bought my next car, I really kind of made sure I bought what I wanted. And I so much appreciate now the service and support that I get. And I'll probably not go to another brand now. And is that the same with machine tools, Adam and Carl?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. We all live in the real world, and you hate to say it, yeah, mistakes happen and everybody has problems, but as long as you respond in the right manner, as long as everybody's honest and upfront from the word go, and that solution gets resolved as quickly, as efficiently as possible, then everybody's happy at the end of the day.
And the problems will always arise and there'll always be issues, but the customer appreciates if you're a fast response, like you've said, you've been open, you've solved those issues. It's about the service from that side. You're trustworthy and we fix things. And
you're absolutely right. It's not about the problem. Problems will always happen in a world like this. There'll always be change. There'll always be problems. But it's how you deal with them problems.
Definitely, yeah.
And moving back on to like the digitalisation aspect and the predictability, the traceability, the comparability, all this nice data that you're getting. Tell us how you use that data and how ultimately it benefits the end user.
it's not just a buzzword anymore, really, is it? Obviously, data's king. Everybody produces data, whether it's the operator himself produces data, the machine, the tooling data, the coolant's producing data, everything's producing data. So, and every customer's after that added value to the business to make sure that the process is not inefficient, overproduction, transport, wait times, stock fluctuation, faults with the machine. It's paramount to make sure that you're constantly finding that process to make sure that it's better all the time, and continuous improvement progress, really.
So, I mean, like at the beginning of the podcast, Carl, you know, with your title, we didn't even use the word sales. We says you are a solutions provider. It's more than just selling a machine tool. It's selling the complete package, isn't it?
We're all passionate about what we do. Yeah, yes, we sell machine tools, but we're also worldwide. We're also behind the scenes. There is a lot of engineers from the ground up. Everybody's an engineer, and everybody's passionate about what they do, and they want to get the best result, really.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, selling does make the world go round, and manufacturers need to reduce cost per part. And so tell our listeners how you can increase their profitability through production and transparency.
Basically, the Industry 4 packages will do that. You have to, each customer, they don't necessarily have the time to take a step back from their production and actually analyse where they're losing costs. So these Industry 4 packages, they highlight it very visually, very easily, and they can be installed easily as well. So you don't have to employ experts, you don't have to have teams of people trying to find out where you're losing costs, where you're losing processes. These Industry 4 packages, like the Analyze, like the GROB for Track, they will collect all that data, pull it all into one place, and then visualise it to you so you can interpret it and analyse it.
And improve. So effectively what you're saying is, Carl, you know, this digitalisation, Industry 4.0, some people, you know, may think of it as a tool just to have remote access, spindle diagnostics, so on and so forth, to keep the machine running. But in fact, it's a lot more than that.
It's a lot more. I think it was a bit gimmicky to start with, but I think it was a bit gimmicky. But now, again, highlighting through COVID, it's come to the forefront, and actually people are going, actually, this is something to take a step and have a look now.
And so the beauty of all the different packages is once that machine is connected, it opens it up, so you don't have to take all these packages, but you've got the option. Once that machine's online securely, you can choose and add on whatever you want, collect the data you want.
So you mentioned gimmick, Carl. You know, in the past, I agree with you. A lot of people using the word Industry 4.0, not really fully understanding what it meant. So, you know, you've just mentioned all the connectivity of the machine tool. You know, when selling a machine tool, do your clients, you know, primarily they're thinking, I just need to cut metal. You know, they've got a process in place, I want to cut metal. I can imagine in the past maybe people didn't really use it to its full potential. Have you seen your clients now using this connectivity of the machine tool to its full potential and reaping the rewards, Adam?
Yeah, we what we prefer to do is let the customer, if they've got a new machine from us, let the customer set that machine up, get the jobs on, get the machine full and be in full process with that machine before offering them a trial of the Industry 4 stuff, because if they're not using the machine to 100% capacity, they're not going to see the benefits of the Industry 4 stuff. So,
and they get false data.
But does this also give them a really good real-life comparison from where they were to where they are now going to be?
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
And does that help you then with justification on selling them the second, third, fourth machine?
Of course, yeah. Of course, yeah. Can't really say more than that, yeah. But everybody, you have to highlight your weaknesses. You have to face up to where you're losing production, where you're losing process. Everybody's after that extra little bit, and again, that touches back on the automotive, where we are as GROB, we were driven to find every single second.
But I think in the automotive, most manufacturers spend millions on their own systems for collecting this data, and they've always collected this data because they've had to in that industry. But a small job shop or a standalone customer doesn't want to spend millions on the data. So if we've got these packages available, it just allows them to collect that data simply.
But they're reaping the rewards, aren't they? You know,
Definitely.
on the same theme as like the automotive industry, you know, the Formula One industry does the R&D really for the future cars that come out,
Exactly,
and then they reap the rewards from that. And it's similar kind of analogy what we're discussing here, isn't it?
Well, if you're not installing packages like this, the data's literally just going out the window. It's just wasted. You're not acting, you're not reacting, you're not acting on that data, and you're really losing out yourselves.
And I think the problem is, you know, with data is how to analyze it. So if you've got apps within your software that is analyzing the data for the end user, it's simplifying that particular process, because I would assume that a lot of engineers haven't got the time to be there analysing data.
Exactly. What's really good about this, we can install these packages into third-party machines as well.
Right. So that is interesting. I didn't know that.
That's not a lot of people do.
And Carl, you know, this is a podcast. It's hard to visually kind of illustrate to our listeners how it all works. So maybe we can do a video on this on MTD to kind of really educate and show our listeners' audience how that works. Because I think that's important. But I'm guessing that our listeners are really kind of getting a feel for the power of this connectivity and software that you incorporate into your machine tools. So finally, guys, this has just been really educational for me and to learn about all this connectivity. But staying on the theme of connectivity and programming, you know, you work with lots of different partners from a programming perspective. How familiar are you with all of them, Adam, and how does that benefit your business?
Well, obviously very familiar. Our own machines, we've, as you know, Siemens, Heidenhain, Fanuc controls, Beckhoff, some of the partners that we have for automation have one of those controls. Our applications guys are versed in all those different languages, so we can support programming on each control also. So yeah, it's an important part to know all of the control systems.
And I'd say it's a massive part, isn't it, Carl?
Massive, yeah, because like you said, some customers, they are used to Heidenhain, and that's all they want. Their operators are used to it. That's the language they want to operate in, and there's no moving away from that. And it's not necessarily that one control's better suited than the other, but that's the way that company's set up. So we have to be prepared to say, well, that's the way that they want to go down. So we will offer and give them the best solution for that package that they want.
It's great to have that flexibility, because I suppose people get familiar with a certain control system and want to continue using that, you know. It's great to be able to offer that. Now, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure today. I hope our listeners have learned a lot about your business from a service perspective and from GROB 4Net digital solutions that you offer with your machine tools. Now, guys, Carl, what's the next podcast that we're going to be doing together?
Yeah, the next podcast will be Napier turbochargers, and that will be quite an exciting one. So definitely tune in and listen to that one.
So we're actually going on site, aren't we?
We're going on site. Yeah, we're going on site. There will be a lot of content, a lot of detail in that one, a lot of subjects to cover.
I look forward to it. Carl, it's been a pleasure. Adam, it's been brilliant to meet you, and thank you very much for joining us on the MTD podcast.
And you, Gio, thank you.
Thanks so much to our listeners for listening to the latest MTD podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting and educational. Please let us know what you think, and don't hesitate to contact GROB Machine Tools UK Limited to find out more. Until next week, the MTD Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the MTD Podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on MTDCNC.com.